What's going on YouTube? So throughout the years, the Infiniti QX80 has undergone a lot of changes. And now for 2022, it is undergoing yet another interior refresh. This time, the emphasis is on modernizing the technology. So without wasting any time, let's go ahead and jump right into the review and see if this is the luxury flagship SUV for you. So since this model was refreshed on the outside back in 2018, I thought this had a very handsome design, and that does carry on for 2022. So up here in the front, you'll continue to find Infiniti's signature grille. It's got that nice shape to it. You do have the kind of wave texture in the middle, and if you choose the premium select trim level, which is the middle option, that's going to have the most sporty design, and that's going to dark out the chrome to give you kind of a more sporty design, like I said. Now, as we come over here to our headlights, these also have that signature Infiniti look. I call it paint stroke because it kind of looks like a painter has stroked the headlights. Of course, all the elements are going to be full LED, including your turn signal indicator. And then down here at the bottom, we also have LED fog lamps. Now, no big luxury SUV would be complete without large wheels. So you're going to start out with a 20-inch alloy. However, both of the other trim levels, the Premium Select and Sensory, are going to come with these beautiful looking 22-inch alloys with different finishes. But I definitely like the way this contrasts, especially with this pearly white paint. As we move on up to the mirrors, these are also going to have a variety of finishes: body colored, smoked chrome, or the full chrome on this top model. And as far as the mirrors themselves, they're packed with all the features. So you have power folding, auto dimming, blind spot monitoring, and heating.
At the side of the QX80, I want to mention that you cannot get this vehicle in a long wheelbase form. So this is going to be your full length for this model. Now, coming around to the rear, this has always been a classy design. Ever since they redesigned it and gave it that nice refresh, I've been a very, very big fan of the way this looks. So we have our Infiniti spelled out across the back. We have chrome intersecting between the taillights, and these are some beautiful taillights. These are full LED. We have that nice kind of paint stroke look to them. We have LED reverse lights. And then dropping down, you will find this unit right here. This houses your incandescent turn signal. I wish they would just go ahead and throw that in the taillights. But as far as your tow rating is concerned, it's 8,500 pounds, which does exceed the four-wheel drive Lincoln Navigator. A nice touch about the QX80 is that for your safety systems, they're not stingy with them. They include every single one of them as standard equipment, so forward emergency braking, lane keeping assist, auto high beams, as well as adaptive cruise control. Well guys, thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate you making it this far in our video. Please subscribe down below if you like what you've seen, and also follow us on our other social medias like TikTok and Instagram. But now let's go ahead and get to the rest of it.
Now walking up to the QX80, of course, as you would expect, you do have a standard smart entry system with remote start and the typical Infiniti key fob. And to get inside the vehicle, you just press the silver button to unlock. Alright, so now looking inside the cabin of this QX80, this is where you're going to see the changes for 2022. I'll get into those updates in just a second, but let's first talk about your different interior material and color options. Now, just like last year, it'll continue to come standard with real leather with a lot of different color choices. However, when you go up to this fully loaded Sensory model like what we have today, this is where you're going to get the really beautiful quilted semi-aniline leather seats. These also come in a lot of interior choices, including graphite, wheat, or an exclusive saddle brown color, and that's going to be paired with burl wood trim, although if you get the Premium Select, that will come with an open pore wood instead. Now turning over here to your door trim, you'll find the same really nice materials up here. All of this is going to be covered in leather all the way up to the top. Nice quilted detailing right there. Even the bottom parts are going to be padded plastic, and you do have the metal speaker grills. Up here you got your two-person memory seating. And then all 4 of your windows will, of course, be one-touch automatic. Turning over here to your seat, this is your standard 10-way power adjusting seat with 2-way lumbar support. And then, like I was already mentioning, this is a beautiful semi-aniline leathers. So very smooth, very supple. I also like the color contrast piping on the sides. Now to get inside, you do have running boards to help you get it in, as well as a driver's side assist grip. Now right off the bat, you'll probably notice that the interior is looking pretty different. That's because in 2020, they added the dual screen arrangement. Now for 2022, we're actually back to a single screen again. We'll talk about what this screen provides you in just a second. But looking at the general material quality, this is going to remain the same for 2022. So we do have a soft touch plastic along the top with the color contrast stitching detail. You have the wood trim, which kind of circles around and goes onto the door trim. It is going to be padded plastic through here. You've got the leather trim with the stitching that runs down the sides of the console here, as well as along this middle portion. And then all this is going to be finished in that burl wood trim. Now to start it up, put your foot on the brake and press the standard button. Now checking out your gauge cluster. This is your typical Nissan and Infiniti affair. So you do have analog gauges on the outsides, a 7-inch display right there in the middle, and of course this does contain all the information, including things like your safety systems, navigation, stuff like that. And then pulling back here to the steering wheel, you'll notice that we have the upgraded steering wheel. This is part of the sensory trim level. That's going to get you the really nice leather covered airbag cover, as well as this wood trim which goes around the front part of the steering wheel. The other models are still going to have a nice leather wrap steering wheel, and all the models will additionally have power adjustment as well as steering wheel heating. But let's go ahead and talk about interior storage next. Of course, this is a really large SUV, so you've got plenty of it as you expect. So here's your center console. Lots of space. I will point out that you can open this in both directions, front and back, can access it. And then looking inside here, we've got a nice felt lined tray there, and then you can move that out of the way and go into a really large amount of space. Drops down nicely, does have power outlet inside, and if you stick your coupons in there, obviously those are going to fit no problem whatsoever. Now up in front of that, you got your 2 cup holders underneath of that, but here's the new bit for 2022. If I press this little lid on this new cover, I'm going to reveal a storage shelf that is also a wireless phone charging pad. So that's a new feature for 2022, and you know, a nice thing to add. Of course, you have your traditional connections below that as well, and a 12-volt outlet still. Next up, we have the shifter. Of course, this has traditional operation, just pull back for drive, bump to the left if you want to shift manually, but there are not paddle shifters on the steering wheel. And then heading into reverse, this is where you'll be greeted with the standard around view monitor from Infiniti. As you can see, you have both the 360 and the standard rear view. You can cycle between various different views as well, and you do have moving object detection as well as parking sensors on the front and the back. And then the mirrors tilt down when in reverse to help you see the parking lines easier. Now as we continue our way up the dash, we come to our redesigned climate controls. So again, since you don't have the dual displays, the climate controls are now in one single panel instead of along the sides. And this is a 3-zone automatic setup, so you can adjust the temperature as easily as these 2 large knobs. You can make those adjustments with the back buttons there. And then off to the side, you will find standard 3-stage heated seats. Ventilated seats are part of this sensory model only. Okay, and now we're up here with our volume knob. So now we'll take a sample of the 17-speaker Bose Performance Series sound system, which is included on this sensory trim level. Yeah, So overall sound quality of this system is very impressive. Really nice, rich sound, lots of bass, and of course I love the metal speaker grille detailing that they have in the door trims. But undoubtedly the biggest update for 2022 is this brand new display. So this is a 12.3-inch touch display. It does have a nice high resolution. This of course was borrowed from the refreshed Armada that we saw a little earlier in the year. And this does bring some new features in addition to the latest Infiniti and Nissan software that you can see right here. The big thing I want to point out is that, of course, you have more screen real estate with the split screen ability. You also have wireless Apple CarPlay now, which is a nice feature in addition to your wired Android Auto. Built-in navigation is going to be included as well as standard equipment. Now as we move above these display, you'll come to your auto-dimming mirror with 3 HomeLink universal remotes. However, this is actually also a smart mirror, so you just flip that switch and this will give you a live camera feed of your rear view. Nice frameless design, really high resolution on this as well, and of course that's really appreciated on something as big as this is. And then up top you'll find a sunglass holder, as well as this standard size moonroof, of course, as standard equipment.
Now you kind of feel like a king when you sit in the QX80's rear area, because this is just like a really opulent and nice place to spend time. There's also a lot of space too. So we have 41 inches of legroom, 40 inches of headroom. That is very competitive numbers for what you expect out of this segment of vehicle. And as you can see here behind your seat position, I'm looking at a solid, I would say 8 to 10 inches of space between my knee and the seat back, adjusted to his position. I will say, however, that it is a little bit tight for my feet to slide up underneath the seat. I'm also a really big fan of the stitching details that they've thrown on the back of the seat back. It really makes it feel a lot more premium back here. Now another thing I want to mention in terms of the seat back are these dual rear seat entertainment screens. These are updated for 2022. These are the new rear seat entertainment screens, and you know, they do look pretty high tech. We also have a USB port as well as an HDMI outlet here on the left one. If we look at the center features, we're going to have heated seats. That's going to be standard on the Sensory model. All of the models will come with tri-zone climate control, however, and we're also going to have 2 charging USB ports, 1 on each side. If we drop below that, we have even more connections. We have a household style outlet, a 12-volt outlet, and then you're probably noticing this right here. This is one of my favorite parts about the QX80's rear area, is that this captain's chair setup is going to be standard equipment, which is quite nice. So you have this area right here in the middle that you can open up. Gives you an absolute crap ton of space. You can definitely fit as many coupons as you want back here in that area. Then if we pop this open, we have our cup holders. Then you can fold this down. That gives you additional space, and there's just tons of space. It makes use of this area really nice, and it also, I think it just makes you feel a little bit more special when you're sitting back here. Now let's hop to the third row of the QX80. Of course, this is a large luxury SUV, so that's important. You just grab this handle here, folds the seat down, pops it out of place. So that's actually pretty easy. Now getting back here is a little tricky. The floor is pretty high. With my knee, let's try and get back here. I guess this is a good test of it. So as far as I guess I'll go ahead and mention before I get wadded into a ball, you can recline these seats with this button right here on the side. And as far as the space itself is concerned, you're looking at 29 inches of legroom, pretty good amount of headroom as well. Infiniti also throws in rear vents. We have cup holders on each side. However, I will say that your feet will not be able to slide up underneath of the second row. Now, if you need a big truck like this, you definitely need a lot of cargo space as well, so let's check that out. We do have a standard power tailgate. It is very slow. Hopefully Nissan will put a faster motor in this eventually. You're not going to have any foot activation though. That is worth noting. Now, as far as the space is concerned, we have 16 cubic feet of space behind the third row seats. If we fold it down, it goes up to 50 cubic feet, and as a maximum, we have 95 cubic feet of space. That is right on par with that of what you would get out of a standard wheelbase option like a Lexus LX. However, like I mentioned on the side of the vehicle, you cannot get a long wheelbase form of this QX80, so this is as big as it's going to get. You're not going to have like an Escalade ESV amount of space. Now, the finishings, let's talk about that. We have a 12-volt outlet here on the left side. Then if we look to the right side, you're going to find these buttons right here. That's to power fold the third row. That is going to be standard equipment on every QX80. Now, as you would expect out of a luxury SUV, we do have a power passenger seat. It appears to be 8-way power adjusting. We even have the lumbar support. And if we pop open the glove box, it's going to be a pretty nice area. So this is a good amount of space. It's not as big as you would maybe think out of a large SUV, but it's certainly enough space to fit our coupons in here, no problems. It's not felt lined though. Then checking out the sun visor, it is very large. We have a mirror, a light, we can detach it, and there is a large extension out in the end. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, so there was a nice acceleration. Of course, that right there is one of the best things about this QX80. Always has been. Just having that big, burly, really nice sounding V8. Lots of power, obviously. 400 horsepower, 413 pound-feet of torque. So lots of power. Like I said, that sound really is a big part of the experience for me. You know, because some of the competition is going to turbo V6s like the Navigator.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're not going to get that experience from something like that. Now we can go ahead and talk about the transmission. This has a 7-speed automatic transmission, just like it has in the past. You know, this is a pretty responsive transmission. You know, 7 is down maybe 1 or 2 from some of the competition, but, you know, overall, it's a satisfactory experience. It's really nice and smooth. I think that's the primary thing that people are looking for in this class of vehicle. And of course, you can get rear-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. Probably 99% of them are going to have four-wheel drive.
Yeah, and if you're curious as to how all of that works together to get you to 60, it's going to be 6.2 seconds according to Car and Driver. So that's pretty quick. And like Drew said, I think that really the beauty of it is just in the sound. Like it has just an intoxicating noise to it. It sounds fantastic. You know, but I do also want to talk about the ride quality. Of course, that's a very important part of a luxury 3-row, is just being very comfortable. And this QX80 does a really, really good job of that. They designed this with comfort in mind. This has like not 1 ounce of sport in its bones, which, you know, is honestly a good thing because it really just soaks up the bumps. That was one of the roughest bumps that you can hit in any car that we just went over, and I felt no penetration at all into this cabin. And the seats are just incredibly comfortable. It feels like I'm sitting on my sofa at home, wrapped in that nice semi-aniline leather. I mean, it's really hard to complain about anything with this. Now, of course, you're not going to have a air suspension or anything offered, but this is really comfortable as is.
Right, and on this top sensory model, we have hydraulic body motion control. So it's basically an adaptive suspension, keeps things in check. So while it's not sporty, you can actually see it's not a boat either, which is a really good thing for something like this, to handle its weight well. So as we kind of go around corners here, you'll see that the big characteristic of that system, and a reason why you might choose this top model, look how we're actually staying pretty flat, even though this is such a big, heavy SUV, and we're going around a pretty sharp corner here. Yeah, so that's definitely a nice thing to see, and it does keep that ride quality incredibly nice.
Now let's do our airball and slam dunk for the QX80. So as far as our slam dunk is concerned, we're going to say the tech improvements for 2022. Like Drew said, they've been on several different interiors with this QX80. So you had the first gen, then they updated it not too long ago with the 2-screen setup, and then now we're back to this. But it's really nice to have just a user-intuitive wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto setup. That's just nice to have. So I'm glad they threw that in. sitting at 56.6 decibels for our center level reading, which is definitely a good figure for a luxury SUV like this. That's where most of the competition tests at.
As far as the airball is concerned, I do want to point out something. We're going to talk about the fuel economy, but it just reminded me going past this gas station here, the traditional V8 definitely is going to be a bit of a penalty as far as fuel economy. Even amongst the rivals that also have V8s, this one does get quite a bit worse fuel economy. So with that, Mason can go ahead and talk
with
about that.
four-wheel drive, it's 13, 19, 15. So 15 miles a gallon combined. Two-wheel drive, it goes up to 16, but that's still not good fuel economy. All right, and let's talk about the pricing. So for 2022, the prices rise only about $1,000 on all the models. So the Lux is going to start at $70,600, and then you go up to the Sensory, which starts at $81,750. This one is pretty much fully loaded, plus our $13.95 destination charge brings our total to $88,130.
But in conclusion, the QX80 continues to be a uniquely appealing flagship SUV. I feel like each of the flagship SUVs kind of has their own personality and distinct characteristics. This one here has, as we discussed, plenty of strong areas. And for 2022, I think the additional tech upgrades are just, making things even a little bit stronger.
Well, guys, that's all for this in-depth review of the 2022 Infiniti QX80 Sensory. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please subscribe down below. Also, follow us on our other social medias like TikTok and Instagram for our shorter form content. And we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.